So now it's April 16th when we're recording this, and the world has shifted a lot. What was your plan prior to COVID, and how are you kind of? I guess let's go into that first. What were your goals, and what was your plan when you moved out there?
Do you want to take it since I've done all the talking?
No, I mean, when we came to Jacksonville, we're kind of suckers for rehabbing beautiful old homes. And so there's this neighborhood just north of the city that has been depressed for some time, but has been undergoing a revival that the locals talk about. Like, this place has been trying to revive itself for like 10 years. And there's been a lot of public-private investment in this area. Is called Springfield. So we first found or set our sights on building a portfolio in this particular neighborhood that we felt was in the path of progress, in terms of downtown, the urban development that's going on in investment, public and private, into the downtown area of Jacksonville. Live, work, play concept. So Springfield, we purchased 3 properties. One just was a duplex that needed minor updates, and we actually bought it as an owner occupied. So we moved in and thought we would just get to know Jacksonville more, but in a property we own. Then we bought a second property that is another duplex, full rehab job, 1900s building that
Wow.
just had not really been given the attention that it needed. And the goal was that we would renovate, and it should be ready here in the next couple of weeks, and then turn it into short-term rentals. The third property that we purchased essentially is a fourplex that another major gut renovation, but also looking at it from a short-term rental standpoint. However, over the last, I would say, 6 months, we've also been toying with just the diversification of short-term and long-term. So, I think that things happening with COVID, it's probably more, top of mind now. But, in terms of what our goals were, it was get those puppies up and running so that we could capitalize on the supply and demand piece of downtown Jacksonville that doesn't have a lot of supply for one hotels period, and then Airbnb type places, to accelerate our cash flow and just building up our own personal cash reserves, and trying to assist us in meeting our personal financial goals. So that was really where we started, and are, on the personal side of things. But we also in January came across a couple properties in Jacksonville Beach that were multifamilies, a triplex and a fourplex, that are either on the ocean or just on the other side of the street, of the ocean. And we realized very quickly that it was an anomaly that 2 multifamilies had come on the market at the same time, and they are either on the ocean or have ocean views. And so we quickly went down the path of, well, could we, make this a syndication? And so we put some feelers out again to our network, and we purchased the triplex and closed on that March 25th. Not a great time. Short-term rentals are still closed down here in Jacksonville Beach. And then that was really just before crap hit the fan on the lending side for any other short-term rentals. So the fourplex kind of got caught in the crossfire. We're still working on that one. It is oceanfront. We still think it is an exceptionally unique and valuable asset. So we're continuing to press forward and work on it. We're in the process of raising additional funds because we do want to hold more reserves just because of the uncertainty, but that's not going to stop us from pursuing what we still think is a very valuable asset. So those were our goals and have been our goals. And now it's more just, I think our goals have really just shifted to the right. I mean, we still are very bullish on short-term rentals here in Jacksonville Beach, especially considering the profile of guests that are visiting this area. And really, you just need the beaches open. That's why people are coming here, for the beaches and weddings and, you know, maybe some work trips, but over 95% of the people who come here are driving. They're not flying. We're not dependent on, you know, people coming from New York City to come down and stay here. We really are just dependent on people being able to drive, you know, and access the beaches.
Yeah, that's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just to add one thing is so in addition to that, we have 2 rental arbitrage properties that gave us the confidence. We had those properties, we saw this Jacksonville Beach deal come up, and we said, wow, that's, you know, a lot better than the properties that we have currently. So we feel pretty confident and that doing really well and outperforming the current property that we have. So
can you explain that just for people who don't understand what rental arbitrage is?
Yeah, so we worked with the owner in this property. It's a townhome. We're actually sitting in one of them now. They're mirror images, and the owner owns both sides. We did a deal with him to where we pay him rent, so we're the tenant, and then he lets us, you know, put it on Airbnb, VRBO, whatever platform.
Sublease. There's a sublease clause where we have approval to sublease it to
however you want.
I guess.
Okay. And what do the numbers look like on something like that?
We projected about 30% gross margin.
Okay.
You know, after all expenses. So.
Okay.
And I guess like from an investment, because it's a little bit different since you're not putting in a ton of cash up front, but you know, cash on cash it's in the 30 to 40%. Of course, it's less cash. You're not really getting the price appreciation and stuff because you don't own the asset, but it's a good deal.
So your cash in is your deposit and your furniture, correct?
That's right.
Yep.
Okay.
You are also able to take the full expense of the lease. You know,
I see. Yeah.
From a business perspective, which is nice. Yeah.
That's great. Cool. So you guys I have a lot of questions that came up as you were talking. So you're involved in a lot of different projects. So getting back to the one that you just purchased at the end of March, did you retrade that deal at all? Did you renegotiate once COVID kicked off, or did you just move forward?
We didn't. It was, we were supposed to close on it really, what was it?
2 weeks
the
before?
19th.
Yeah.
Okay.
March 19th, or it was, so at that time, it was still like Jacksonville was still going, and there wasn't a lot of the shutdowns and stuff. It wasn't happening. So we didn't feel confident. Plus we did get a pretty good deal. We had, our offer was lower, and we knew, you know, just based on some back and forth, that was kind of what he needed to just break even. And you know, we didn't feel like trying to pinch pennies. And we were just more focused on the financing, closing the financing. Now this other one that's still in the works, we will retrade that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so you feel like you said that you're still really bullish on short-term rentals. And you mentioned that you're a driving destination. So you feel like once things pick up again, once people can go back to work, it'll turn around pretty quickly there.
Yeah, we're not saying that there's going to be some headwinds with short-term rentals, and I think, you know, the big picture, there will be some pressure on, and I think specifically in some of the markets, the urban markets, I know from talking to people and just the general, talk of like all the research and stuff, like Nashville was a really hot market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think these urban markets are going to there's been a lot of supply, there's a lot of demand, but there's been a lot of supply. There's a lot of these larger operators, smaller operators, everybody's kind of getting in on it. And it's a lot of business, like business travel. And
Mm-hmm.
so, a lot of companies, the company that I was at, you put on a slide deck, hey, the business travel is however many billions of dollars a year. Well, in 2020, that figure is going to be slashed in probably more than half.
Yeah.
And will it continue to be slashed? Probably. Just depending on how this, and no one knows, right? There's a lot of
people have a taste of what it's like to work from home now, and so it's like
pretty nice.
Well,
it's accelerated that movement. I bet we'll see.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see from a business travel and conventions and stuff like that. But I think we understand that, and there's people that have bought 10, 20, 30 properties, and so everyone has a mortgage, and if they can't pay that, then that creates a squeeze, and yada yada. So get it. That's probably that. There are going to be some people that lose out. We think from our specific micro, this is the only thing that I always said this, like in the Army and like at Amazon, I can control what I can control, right?
Yeah.
Like I can't control what's going on in New York City. I really am intimate with Jacksonville Beach. My take on Jacksonville Beach is that the majority of the travelers, they're not business travelers. We do have business travelers that complement a lot of the things, but we have a lot of weddings, which I don't think weddings are going away. I would argue that weddings might probably go smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And so this property that we have here, there's been actually a lot of interest in using the property as a wedding venue. And so will there be more demand for properties where they can, it's a smaller, intimate, just friends and family, and they're using Airbnbs instead of large, hotels for their guests. So we think Jacksonville Beach specifically is even if the numbers still work from a long-term rental perspective for properties, but it would be hard for us because we put all of our properties on long-term or on like Zillow and some of the other platforms, and we've had a significant amount of interest.
Okay.
And we actually don't want to do that. Someone that's like, hey, I'll sign up for 12 months, because we know that the profits are a lot higher, just as long as we can, have some certainty around when are the beaches opening.
Yeah.
I can't really control that when the governor or mayor says the beaches are open, but we do feel that it would be hard to shut that down for much longer, just because it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But that's kind of our thoughts on the general like micro Airbnb market of Jacksonville and Jacksonville Beach.
So are you renting them then month to month, long term, right now?
We're not.
Okay.
We just like this week.
Okay.
We started thinking about one of our properties down in downtown Jacksonville is actually rented for like 3 weeks for a team that was building like an emergency hospital, which they don't need anymore, but I guess they still built it. And so that one was we got lucky on that one, where it's like they were basically all of April we had bookings, even though you have the COVID stuff. So our beach properties were not, and so we started to think about, should we at least see if there's somebody that is looking on these other platforms like Zillow, or another one is Furnish Finder. Furnish Finder, which is kind of catering.
Just traveling professionals.
Yeah,
nurses, doctors, primarily.
Okay.
So like shorter term, but not gonna take, because this is, going into the high season for Jacksonville Beach, May, June, July, August. So we were hoping not to give up, if everything kind of comes back to normal, there might be a rush on like, hey, let's go ahead and get in our summer vacation. And so we'd be positioned to be able to provide those accommodations.
Yeah. I agree with you guys. I think that you can't really lump short-term rentals all into one category. Like you said, Carly, like areas where people have to fly, I think that's a different category. Like, if this ended next week, I don't feel like people are going to just go online and book a vacation for the following week. There is going to be a lag, and but like the ones that I have are very similar to the ones you guys are doing. I'm in Northwest Indiana, and it's people from Chicago come over here for the weekend or for a week in the summer, and go to the beach. And so I think there'll still be some of that. I agree. But so you said all your properties work as long-term rentals as well. Do they cash flow, or is it just kind of breaking even at that point?
Yeah, they cash flow. We write it that not all of our properties, but most of them are still, from a cash on cash perspective, are still double-digit returns, even long-term.
That's great.
But that's where you get the value of the renovation. You take that extra risk in taking on a project and financing the renovation, and then refinancing and into something, that you're going to be able to cash flow well.
Yeah. I mean, the renovation aspect of it, buying the product, because you're going to get a better value, right? You're buying something that needs to be renovated. Not a lot of people want to buy something like that. So you're going to get a discount there. And then the value that you're adding to the building it should, be realized. And so as long as you just write it with that in mind, in terms of that there's certain buffers and that you can, refinance on once you're finished with the project, and whatever that debt is now the income from that property is going to cover that debt plus some profit, then, which is what we do in terms of long-term. The short-term rentals or short-term rents are just make it really, it's hard not to do it. I think also the short-term rental aspect is intimidating for a lot of people in terms of just there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of operational components, and I mean, we have a background in tech and operations and finance, and so we like it because it allows us to blend all those instead of just your typical like rental, long-term rent where you buy the property, you put a tenant in there, and then it's just you're good, which is awesome. But you're not really leveraging any technology or any kind of cool tools that are out in the market. And the Airbnb and VRBO and all these companies have really created multiple companies that are catering to the host, to whether it be a pricing tool or a calendar management or a messaging software. So if you can get your head around all these different technologies and just build it into your workflow, it makes a lot of stuff, it automates a ton of stuff, and so we enjoy that aspect of it.
Hey, huge thanks to Jered and Carly for coming on the show. They are a super sharp couple, and in the full interview, they share how they transitioned from their previous corporate jobs into running their rental properties full time. And then they talk about how they're transitioning again now in this new COVID-19 environment. So if you want to listen to the full interview, you can search for it on any podcast player, whether that's iTunes or Spotify or however you listen to your podcasts. You can search for the Living Off Rentals podcast and it will pop right up. Or you can go on over to the Facebook group, the Living Off Rentals Facebook group, and continue the conversation with Jered and Carly there, or some other really smart rental property investors that hang out there. So I hope to see you there. If not, I will see you in the next video.